could feel my husband coming in here and pull the covers up on me and give me a kiss, which is really sweet. Good afternoon, everybody. So, it snowed last night. Yeah, I don't think it's going to stick around very long. Well, it could. We're supposed to be in a freezing all weekend and all week. So, let's see. I don't think it's going to stick around, though. There's not enough out there to do anything with. So, anyway, I've not been doing anything literally at all today. I went back to bed and slept, and I could feel my husband coming in here and pull the covers up on me and give me a kiss, which is really sweet. So, stomach's not feeling too good. Trying to eat a little bit of crackers and not ginger ale, but some A&W root beer. I know, ginger ale is better for you, and so is Sprite and 7-Up, but hey, a girl can drink what she wants, even though it doesn't matter, because I'm going to feel bloated and sick again later anyway. So, anyway. So, I haven't really been talking a whole lot about, what's going on with me and what I have going on, and so, today, I thought that I would have a talk with you. So everybody knows that I have Crohn's disease and I have gastroparesis. The Crohn's disease I've had my entire life. Just wasn't diagnosed. And just because you're not diagnosed doesn't mean you didn't have it. It just means doctors didn't find it until the date you were diagnosed with it. It just doesn't pop out of nowhere. So anyway, so with my Crohn's, I lost my colon, aka large intestines. I also lost my rectum and my anus and my appendix. I think my surgeon decided to take the appendix out because it is on your right side. And so then if I had pain on the right side, then we would know that it is the Crohn's and not the appendix that's bothering me. The gastroparesis, my surgeon has been like he's been kind of treating it as gastroparesis, but I never had like a true diagnosis until a few years ago. And then I was, my last hospitalization before my surgery, I'm at the GI Motility Clinic. I had no idea what the GI Motility Clinic was, and I'm seeing now that a lot of people don't even know what the GI Motility Clinic is, and it's really sad because I know there's not very many of them around in the United States, and their wait time is 6 to 8 months, and I know a lot of people don't have 6 to 8 months. But to even not know that they don't exist is even more sad. So, I have a very, very good team of doctors. They all do sit together and try to come up with the best care plan for me when I am very, very sick and or in the hospital. Or any surgeries I have. What I did from there is basically my PCP directed me to one GI. That GI directed me to my surgeon, who is in the top 10 percentile of the surgeons in the United States, and from there he got me from one top-notch doctor who is the head of his department, and was a part of making Entivio and to other top-notch doctors. So I was very, very lucky. And he was also in with the GI Motility Clinic, and I was able to be seen the following week after I was discharged from hospital. So he got me out of the 6 to 8 month wait. But what's really sad to me is I see a lot of these girls, well, mostly girls. I'm sure there's men. I haven't really paid attention to see if there's any men on here, because whenever I search or whatever, or I see people, for me to recommend it for me, that it's mostly women, but that are on feeding tubes and TPNs, and I've had the TPN, and I lost all that weight, and then I get put on a biologic for Crohn's. I gain a crap load of weight, then I lose it all again, another biologic, and I mean, it's been an up and down roller coaster for me. And so it's been a battle with my Crohn's disease and the gastroparesis, and but it's sad because I've only heard one person say anything about the Gastric Motility Clinic, and she is actually going to go see one. And I'm just like, don't, of all appointments, don't get rid of that one. And yeah, and it's just, it's sad because these people specialize in gastroparesis, and if anybody is going to help you, it will be these people. I immediately got help. There's nothing worse than vomiting non-stop. And then the pain in your chest. What's worse, vomiting or the pain in your chest? The pain in your chest is hurting because of all the vomiting. It's the muscles that's hurting because you've been vomiting so much. Then dry heating, and then there's nothing gets rid of that pain. So if you can avoid the vomiting, avoid the nausea, then that'll help get rid of that pain. And so, I was blessed, and they ran more tests on me, and they go ahead and they run these tests because, for one, they can't go to your insurance for other things until they have ran these tests. So they go ahead and they run these tests because they know this is what insurance is going to ask for. Then, like me, it's like, okay, we'll do this test, and then we'll try this on you. Well, what I did was I did the test for the temporary anterior gastric stimulator, and it goes, they do endoscopic, and then it goes through your nose, and first it goes down to your stomach, then it comes out through your nose. And I had to wear that for 5 days, and I hate NG tubes with a passion. So I did that, and before they removed it, I had to go through another gastric stimulator. I had to do the whole eggs and all that crap again, and then go through the 4-hour test. Most people, by the 4th hour, have passed everything within, they say like 20%, no, 10% to 0 to 10% will have an empty stomach. Okay, so they went ahead and I did the test, and so then they talked to me about it, and I talked to the surgeon about it, and he said, well, you're a good candidate for it. And when they removed it, oh my God, I vomited. I ran to the bathroom. And it's because now I don't have something making my stomach move, and now I've got all this food coming back up with it. So anyway, it doesn't cure you. There is no cure. What it is the insurances don't want to pay for it because they say it is experimental. After almost 20 years, it's not experimental. they don't want to pay for it because, one, it's expensive. Two, it's an ongoing expense. Three, it's not a cure. It's a humanitarian device. It's to help us with our symptoms because there is no cure. I mean, they can take your stomach out. You can live without your stomach. But that's something that they don't want to do. And then be hooked up to what you're already hooked up to. A TPN and or a feeding tube. So, if you're doing that right now and you're not going to a GI, I mean, what's the whole point in even having your stomach if you're not even able to eat? So, anyway, I mean, that's just my whole point in it. And, but I think, I always try when I find somebody and you know, I look around at a couple of their videos. I'm like, you know, how come you're not being seen by a GI motility specialist? And, you know, and it just, because it breaks my heart. Because, yes, I was blessed to be in a city, in a state, and have the doctors I had because of my team of doctors. And just because my team of doctors are so great, and I know everybody thinks their doctors are great, but I have a team of doctors that can get things done right then and there, and they don't go through any red tape because they are the red tape. And so I get aggravated because, you know, all of us are trying to spread awareness about these diseases. And, you know, I get diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and, you know, all my years in nursing, I had heard, the first time I heard of it, I had a neighbor who lived, she was a single mother, she had 2 kids, she lived right across the hall from me, and she had Crohn's disease, and that's the first time I ever heard of it. Crohn's disease just wasn't something that was talked about. It wasn't something that, I don't even remember it in school. And then the second time I heard about it was, and I know she was always tired, she was fatigued, she was exhausted, but I didn't know anything. I didn't ask her a bunch of questions because this is how I feel about things like this. If somebody wants me to know something, they will tell me. And so that's how I felt about that. I did keep her kids for like an hour because she had to go to the doctor or something. I got them off the bus for her. But I mean, I never got in anybody's business. They knew what I did and all this, and if they needed help or whatever, people came to me. I was working at Our Lady of Peace, which is a mental hospital. So this girl came in and she was on suicide watch, and when somebody's on a suicide watch, they're on 1-to-1, which means they have to be within your arm's length next to you, and they have to be in your sight at all times, even in the bathroom. So she was in the bathroom, and we could hear her out there, and I'm like, what is wrong with her? And they're like, oh, she's got Crohn's disease. They say it's really painful, but I never had any reason to look it up. I just never did. And then I got sick, and I'm looking up all the stuff, and they're not certain if I've got ulcerative colitis or if I've got Crohn's disease yet until my blood work came back, because there was 2 tests that they did on me, and both of them came back positive for Crohn's disease. And my I think 100th colonoscopy. God, you know how many colonoscopies they do on us, you know. And so it came back that I had Crohn's disease, and but, you know, and then whenever I tried to go back to work, I worked for 3 months, they'd ask me to work over, and I'd look at them and I'm like, well, you know, if I work a double shift, chances are I'm not going to be able to work tomorrow morning. And, you know, they knew that, you know, I had my ostomy, and me working just the day shift alone was hard on me because I couldn't stay hydrated. And so if I stayed, that, you know, I probably wouldn't be in the next day. So anyway, we had a new resident. Well, we already had a resident who had an ileostomy, and I don't even know why he actually got one. I never looked, I never asked, but other nurses, when they give you a report, would call it a colostomy, and I look at it and say, it's not a colostomy, it's an ileostomy. I said, don't you know the difference? And but they didn't know how to take care of it. I mean, it was horrible. And the CNAs thought the bigger you cut the hole, the better it is. And I'm like, look, let me tell you something. You don't cut the hole bigger, because all it does is it sits on her skin and makes it raw. But anyway, let's get out of that one. But yeah, we had a patient come in who had Crohn's disease, and that was the first person I ever met with Crohn's disease and all of that outside of the patient and all that. And then my husband was on a bowling league, and his friend had Crohn's disease, and so we had a lot to talk about. And yeah, and then, you know, I got married, and so, you know, Crohn's disease is horrible too, and, you know, I never really heard about it. And, you know, and for people to say, oh, well, you just now got the disease. No, I didn't just now get the disease. I've lived with the disease my whole life. It was just the time I was little, back in the 70s and 80s, people just weren't being diagnosed for Crohn's disease. It just wasn't something that was being diagnosed. It just wasn't. And I'm not mad at any doctors. I'm not mad at any hospitals. I'm not mad at any imaging. I'm just not. It just wasn't something that people were being diagnosed with. It just, I don't know if it just wasn't really heard of that much, or if it just wasn't something that was being diagnosed. I don't know. But for some reason, I was not diagnosed with it. Every time I go to the doctor, even older, oh, you have IBS, you have this, you have that, you have GERD. Okay, the only thing that was even right in all of that is I have a hiatal hernia. Out of all that, I have a hiatal hernia. And, but I kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and every time I'd have the stomach flu, it would last a week or two. And yeah, a stomach flu lasts, you know, at best 48 hours, at the most. And, yeah, so that was my life. And so you don't just get Crohn's disease, you're born with it, and it just depends on when it's finally going to start showing its ugly head. Is it going to come out slowly, and then just like a snowstorm, just kind of like whoops in here, and then guess what, I'm going to mess your life up. So that's kind of how my Crohn's did. And then the gastroparesis, it just kind of came on. Yeah, we had a hard time figuring that one out. And, you know, I kept going to the ER. They kept sending me home. There's nothing wrong with you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, something is wrong. If nothing's coming out of my ileostomy, there's something wrong. I'm vomiting, and there's nothing coming out of my ileostomy. There's something wrong. What is it? And so yeah, and that's another disease that's not getting a lot of awareness, because a lot of people don't know what it is. And even ER doctors, they don't even know what it is. They don't know what it is that they're looking at. I mean, I went in completely hydrated, mind you, because I have IV hydration, and I usually have an extra 1 or 2 bags. Well, when I was sick like that, I would run them because I'm vomiting profusely. And I'm trying to keep myself more hydrated, because if you don't stay hydrated, dehydration causes nausea. So, I go in there, oh yeah, you're not dehydrated. I'm like, yeah, because I told you, I've been staying hydrated at home. Well, there's nothing we can do for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's something wrong. And, yeah, I got turned away like that a couple of times. And then finally, I just got sick of going to the ER, because I'm sitting there, I'm paying $100 copays, and they're telling me there's nothing wrong. So, finally, I called the on-call surgeon. And she has seen me on several occasions when my surgeon was out of town or was off for that night or that weekend, and I'm just like, look, I'm hurting, I'm vomiting, I am sick, and I can't go back to the ER. They don't know what they're looking for, and there's obviously something going on somewhere. So she's like, okay, well, do you want me to call you? I'll make you a direct admit. I'm like, well, let's wait. She said, okay, well, if it gets worse, then let me know. I'll direct admit. Okay, well, I called her back. She made me a direct admit. And that's when we found out that, guess what? I wasn't making it up. I had gastroparesis. And so, you know, people aren't aware of what gastroparesis is. It's not that we are making stuff up. We are actually sick. And it's not a nice disease. And you know, and then when you have other diseases on top of it, it really messes with your life. But you try to live a regular, normal life, and sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you get out and about, and that's it. I mean, I used to go out all day long and hang out and whatever, and as it's getting worse, 2 hours at a time is about all I can do. And then I'm worn out. So then we add in the fact that I have a neurogenic bladder. A neurogenic bladder is basically a bladder that just doesn't work. It doesn't empty your urine all the way. And so I have had many times where I've really got to go to the bathroom and it just is not emptying, and a lot of pain, and of course that causes bloating because your bladder's expanding, and that's caused me to go see a urologist who did all my tests. So, well, you got a neurogenic bladder. So it's funny. I get my catheters, and they look like pins. And I had somebody was wanting a pin. I was, oh, look at my purse, I got a pin. So they pulled this out. I said, you don't want, that's not a pin. Are you sure? No, it's not a pin. Trust me. You don't want that. So, anyway, so yeah, my catheters look like pins, but, yeah, my I don't empty all the way, and so then I take a low-dose antibiotic to help prevent a urinary tract infection. So that's always fun. And also, I think it's really crazy, and you know, I don't know when this started happening, honestly, but I've always had a low blood pressure, always, and so But on top of that, my blood pressure is really low, but my heart rate is really high. And I'm not talking about because I went for a walk or whatever. No, it's because I'm sitting here and I'm resting, and my heart rate will be like 120, 130. And so now they say I have tachycardia. And so and my body's just been just through hell and back. And you know, it's hard to bounce back, as most of you know. It's very hard to bounce back, you know, and I've had these blood clots and all of that, and you try to get things done on a timely manner, but that doesn't always work, and you get frustrated, and the more frustrated you are, you just want to sit down on the floor and cry because you just can't get things done. I don't know. Oh. Anyway, if you have gastroparesis, if you've not seen a GI motility specialist, you need to see if there's one in your city or one nearby. And I highly recommend you go get an appointment with one. My insurance, I don't need a recommendation from anybody. Not anybody. But they were recommended to come and see me in the hospital by my surgeon, and I suggest anybody who has it, I suggest you go see one. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? They can't do anything, or I don't know, but you know, they've helped a lot of people, so give them a try, and I will see you tomorrow.